Hey everybody, Dennis here with Restoration Sensei. This week we're still on Egan's chapter 11. We're going to be there for a little while because it's about ventilation. And today we're talking about how to calculate something called dynamic compliance. We've talked about this in previous videos conceptually, but today we want to talk about the calculation itself. You need to know this for the NBRC exam, but this is also something that's very useful in real life. It's not uncommon for a lot of ventilator flow sheets as you check the ventilator to calculate the dynamic compliance. So dynamic compliance is referring to the amount of pressure or work that it takes to push air into the lungs. So the formula is going to be start off by looking at the volume that you're trying to stick in. So if it's 700 cc's, 1000 cc's, 600 cc's, or more appropriately, we would call it milliliters. We're going to see that more on the exam than we do cc's. Cc's are a little bit old. What you're not going to do when you talk about tidal volume is talk about it in liters. Dynamic compliance is typically calculated in milliliters. So if they're getting 700, then it's 700 milliliters. Now we're going to divide that by the amount of pressure it takes to put that into the lungs. And so we're going to divide it by the peak pressure, but there's a trick here. We need to subtract any PEEP that we have. Keep in mind that if you have peak pressures of say 25 to put a tidal volume into the lungs, but you're sitting at a PEEP of 5, well, you were sitting at a baseline PEEP of 5. How much pressure did it take to push into the lungs? Not the 25. 25 is the total pressure. So it's really the difference between the baseline pressure and the peak pressure. So 25 minus the 5 of PEEP would give you 20, and that's what we're trying to do. And that's why the formula is the tidal volume divided by the peak pressure minus the PEEP. So first you have to subtract that PEEP. Once you do that, then you have something called dynamic compliance. And it's going to come in the units of milliliters per centimeters of water pressure. All right, that's dynamic compliance. In our next video, we'll talk about how to calculate static compliance.